So we're back playing the DPM Republic build, and this time in ranked. And it's going to go extremely well for us. This is Legendary Mod Republic, where we give up a ton of range for a tiny bit of extra DPM. But that means that we have a sub 20-second reload on our Republic, which is just insane considering the guns on this ship. Fast shell velocity, great damage, obviously insane reload. And you get some overmatch, right? We overmatch 30 millimeters with this. It's not going to be a huge difference maker in this game, but what is the high explosive, and we're going to actually farm out a Witherer in this game. We're basically a cruiser at this point, right? So we may as well spam some HE at a Yamato. It's really a good tool to use into bow-on battleships, especially when you don't have the ability to overmatch them, and a Yamato has a pretty small superstructure, so it's not like we're going to get any good pens in, at least at this range. So, you know, we'll start off with 10,000 damage and a fire. That's pretty good. The other thing we're going to do, of course, is try and support our DD, right? We want to get some damage in to try and help them out just a little bit. And a DPM build can certainly do that. We're also running Expert Loader, which is such an awesome skill since the new update. I love the change. I know I said that I would have preferred they left the skill at the old percentages where it was a little faster to change shells, but it's so good now that you can just swap shells anytime during your reload until you get down to that minimum swap time, and it doesn't have any impact on reloading. It's so awesome. It's a really, really nice change, and it allows you to play a game like this where you have insane DPM and you have that ability to just swap between a really good HE shell and a really good AP shell whenever you'd like to. Much like secondary builds, I wouldn't really recommend this in random battles since it's so difficult to make use of Republic with this little range, at least on those secondary battleships, right? We have a bit of armor to use. At Republic just has 32 millimeters of armor, so into Yamatos, into super battleships, the overmatch is very, very painful. And of course, cruisers having easily 20 kilometers of range these days, it's not a good time in random battles. But in ranked, that's where some of these close range builds can do a really, really good job. And I'm not sure, but if I'm able to kill someone really quickly with all this DPM, maybe I don't need some of the extra survivability upgrades on the commander, for example. DPM over everything else, right? I'll kill you before you kill me. I'm not sure about that theory yet, but it seemed to work in this game. I might have to play around with it with some other ships. Of course, the Proisen also has similarly large guns and a similarly quick reload. It just doesn't have the legendary mod to push that reload below 20 seconds, at least without adrenaline rush, right? So I might have to give that one a go here in the future. But for now, Republic DPM build, I can definitely recommend it for ranked. It's pretty fun. I don't know if it's worth grinding out the legendary module for. You can just run the regular reload mod and be much better off in far more situations where you can actually make use of that really good range. But it's a fun legendary upgrade. I wouldn't say it's the worst legendary upgrade in the game. It's just very situational, and unless you're really playing up close, it tends to make your ship a little bit worse. Early on in this match, of course, we didn't even have enough range to hit that Montana, and he was around 21 kilometers, which is pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Fortunately, we are actually not going to eat the Sherman torpedoes. It's always a bit of a rough situation when you end up eating Sherman torps. They're not the best or the easiest to use at all. Well, this game is going okay for us, mostly because we have cap control, right? We look up at the top scoreboard, right? We're up on points, we're up on caps, but the important thing is the enemy team has more ships, so we got to expect them to push eventually, which is why I want to stay here. I don't really want to move from this spot. I don't really want to give up the C cap for free, and we're pretty close to killing this Yamato. As far as the strategy goes, it's always going to be an advantage if you can force the enemy team to push into you. This is one of the reasons that competitive World of Warships can be a little bit boring to watch at times, where you have a full team coordinating together trying to outdo the enemy team just by a few points. Even 1 point. If that team is up on a single point, they don't have to push. The team that's down by 1 point by the end of the game, they have to push in to try and win the game late game. And that's kind of the interesting and also boring part about competitive, unfortunately. But in ranked, of course, it's random teammates, so we don't quite have that luxury of coordinating together. So I try to play around my teammates, and I try and support at least the cap I'm close to, right? Yamato pushing in with some pretty good cross shots, so we need to kill him quickly. And I'm just sticking with the HE here. It's doing great damage. I think with the AP, we would have done much less. Maybe our salvos individually would have been a little bit more. But never underestimate fires, man. Fires hurt so much. And permanent fires, well, they can keep you lit for a little bit longer as well and maybe get you killed. Although this Yamato decided to shoot, so he would have been spotted anyway. So we will manage to take him out. And then we're just going to chill here at sea, holding on to it while we try and farm out the enemy battleships pushing in on the other flank. It's probably about time I address this mini-map. It's really not so mini. I was having a bit of a rough day. I was trying to play some high alpha damage ships with decent accuracy. So Republic comes into mind. There's a few others. And I tend to use the mini-map to aim. I'm sure a lot of you have known about my channel simply because of that aiming guide. You'll know that I use the little X on the minimap a lot, especially for vertical aiming. Horizontal, all done with the Smart Horizon dynamic crosshair. But vertically is very important because, of course, if we aim just slightly too low, well, those shells will go in the water. And a little high, and of course, it's just all over pens, right? So I like to use a giant map like this just to perfectly get some of that vertical aiming. Especially when I'm in a situation where I've played Kronstadt for 5 games, and it's been a rough time this week. I've also looked at the comments preliminarily on that video. It seems like you guys enjoy suffering, or at least watching me suffer, because I think Colombo is winning the fight right now to see what ship I'll play next in that one, which is a little scary. Although it is good, because I should be looking at that ship considering its buff. At least all the Italian battleships in the tech tree have actually been buffed with this expert loader. They get it baked in a little bit more. And of course, you can always add on the commander skill. So it could be good. I'm not so sure, though. I've really been putting it off, though. I've been trying to play a little bit better ships, like the Republic, right? And wow, what an absolutely disgusting rear fire that was on that poor Montana. I'm reversing broadside here, mostly because I know the Monty isn't going to Citadel me, and I feel like it's pretty important for me to stay close enough to the sea cap that the Sherman can't get in without being proximity spotted or normal surface spotted by myself. I think that's pretty crucial to at least holding on to this game. There, of course, is the Witherer. Yeah, fires are no joke. Just 8 fires is all it took on these battleships just to burn them down for at least 60k. And yeah, there goes the Montana. It's not a build that I'm terribly proud of when I'm spamming HE, but it can be satisfying. It's definitely some very consistent damage. Speaking of the Sherman, there he is. He finally pops up in smoke. And you notice we were so close to the cap that he had to smoke up outside of the cap just to try and push me away, right? And then the Des Moines has a radar, so that's how we're going to manage to take him out. Already up to 180k damage. And so far, at least in this game, it seems like the DPM sure is working. I do have the extra damage output from when somebody's within my secondary range, as you can see in that bottom little middle spot of the screen. But it's only 11 kilometer secondary range, not the full 12.5 the Republic can get, since we do want to keep our accuracy. It is a main gun focused build after all, but all the DPM that I can possibly get, which we'll go over in port after the game. But I think I'm gonna have to try this build on a few more ships. I don't know, I think that if I play a little further back like I did in this game, don't get myself into sustained engagements, take risks like I did here, right, where I'm not pushing into this Bourgogne anymore. I had to turn away to just secure the win. I was risking taking probably 20k damage, I would say the Bourgogne could have done there, at least in that salvo, since he's not going to Citadel me. Republic's kind of got that black hole turtle back armor. But I didn't want to sit there bow on to a Bourgogne when there's a Minotaur potentially able to farm me out as well. So that's why I did that turn. A bit of a risk there at the end. But other than that, really not a lot of risks taken here other than being just a stationary gun platform shooting less than every 20 seconds, right? It's pretty awesome, and you can support your teammates reasonably well with that. But there are times that a battleship needs to support by using its HP pool and trying to push in, or at least taking some focus fire away from some less armored ships. And that's not going to be a very good thing to do with this build. So there are some trade-offs, certainly, but 213k is certainly a good result, and we managed to get the win as well. So like I said, we actually are running the legendary mod here. Again, probably not worth it. 24% reduced main battery firing range is quite a lot, considering we're only gaining 6% reload over the regular main battery mod. But we don't have that penalty to turret traverse, which is kind of nice for when you want to be spinning around with your guns and moving around trying to focus on different targets. I did take damage control system mod 2 here, since our commander doesn't have the best upgrades, at least for survivability. We really only have concealment on this side of the upgrade list, right? So everything else is damage focused. Getting the right ammo type, getting guns on target quicker, taking secondary range, not to use secondaries, but actually to get a 10% reload buff if somebody's within that secondary range. Even Furious. Again, I think this is just bait, but I mean, it's the full build, right? We had to try it. I do think it'd be better overall with, let's say, fire prevention, or if you wanted to actually get some value out of these secondaries, yeah, you could go manual secondaries. It's probably both better than using Furious, but the full build, right? Getting that reload as low as possible. It can get down to like 12, 13 seconds, something like that, with some AR and a couple fires. It's pretty nasty. So if you enjoyed, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.